Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into one of the most insane, absolute peak survival stories in gaming, Pick Me Up. We're talking about the ultimate Giga Chad journey where a top-tier gamer gets sucked right into a brutal, unforgiving gacha game. But wait for it, not as some legendary golden hero, but as absolute bottom-tier, one-star trash. It's a total grind fest of sheer willpower, broken mechanics, and clawing your way to the very top. Let's get right into it.
So, imagine grinding thousands of hours on your favorite mobile game, knowing every single stat. And then suddenly, you wake up inside it. That is Hansei Ojin's literal nightmare right now. He doesn't spawn in as some god-tier knight with shiny armor. Nope, he wakes up in a burning, chaotic town as disposable one-star fodder. And here's the terrifying kicker, guys. Death in this world is permanent. If you die in combat here, you die in real life. No respawns.
You see, when your average person gets summoned as a one-star hero, absolute panic sets in. I mean, naturally, right? They freeze up, they break down crying, and honestly, they get slaughtered almost immediately. But Han, he is built entirely different. Using his encyclopedic knowledge of the game, he completely suppresses his terror, accepts his crazy new reality, and just grabs a trash-tier wooden shield off the ground. He knows exactly how this game works, and the only way out is to grind.
Which brings us to our first major hurdle, trapped as disposable trash.
Now, surviving the monsters is really only half the battle, because there is this horrific mechanic hanging over their heads called synthesis. See, the game is still being controlled by a real human master back on Earth. If Han looks weak, or honestly just useless on that player's screen, his character icon gets dragged straight into the synthesis chamber. If that happens, Han is completely disintegrated, erased, just to give a tiny, insignificant stat boost to a stronger hero. So he's not just fighting for his life, he is desperately being forced to perform for a clueless player behind a screen.
But here's the thing. Han isn't just some random noob. Before this whole nightmare started, he was known as Loki, the number 5 global player in the entire world. He only got dragged into this reality after a wildly bugged level 999 Shadow instantly wiped his elite 5-star team out of nowhere. So, while his current physical body is incredibly weak right now, his brain, it holds every single mechanic, secret, and meta strategy of this world.
And that leads us to our next section, the infinite training glitch. Knowing he absolutely cannot survive this solo, Han meticulously builds a squad from the few other one-stars who actually have the willpower to fight back. He treats this exact situation like a high-stakes MMO raid, assigning roles perfectly based on the meta. He sets Eren up on a mid-range spear, gets Jenna acting as a sniper with her bow, and puts Yuka on area of effect magic. He is flat-out weaponizing his game knowledge to build the perfect survival team. And to make sure none of them end up in that terrifying synthesis chamber, Han basically turns himself into a walking, infinite training glitch. Since traditional leveling isn't an option right away, he pushes his body way past its physical breaking point just to farm raw stamina. He spars relentlessly with his team until the game's system is forced to merge his basic attacks into advanced combo skills. Plus, tapping into his old top-tier knowledge, he manually crafts incredibly powerful gear out of absolute trash materials. He is literally outsmarting the system.
But the system always pushes back, bringing us to the brutal floor 5.
So all of Han's insane preparation gets put to the ultimate test when their completely ignorant human master makes a catastrophic mistake. The player drops their severely underleveled party straight into floor 5, and when they spawn in, there is no boss waiting for them in a dramatic arena. Instead, a system notification pops up for a survival mission against a literal army. 1,086 goblins are marching directly at them. That's enough monsters to fill a stadium, all charging at a bunch of 1-stars.
This isn't even a battle anymore. It is a grueling 30-minute endurance test. They wedge themselves into a narrow alleyway, frantically rotating the front line as pure exhaustion sets in. As that clock ticks down, the formation begins to crack. 2 of the weaker members are brutally killed. At the 3-minute mark, Han's sword completely shatters, forcing him to bash in goblin skulls with just his shield. And with just 30 seconds left on the clock, the barricade falls. They are entirely, hopelessly surrounded.
But then, right as a demonic goblin lunges forward to execute him, Han's sheer unfiltered rage and absolute refusal to die triggers a hidden mechanic. He awakens a feral berserker state. His eyes glow red, his physical limits completely vanish, and he becomes this primal killing machine.
He holds the line through pure, unadulterated violence until that timer freezes at exactly 0. Against all odds, they survived.
Which brings up some massive questions in our next part. The true master revealed.
Surviving Floor 5 actually grabs the attention of the game's admin fairy. Now, she loves mocking these one-star heroes while openly praising her idol, the legendary player Loki. So what does Han do? He calmly looks her dead in the eye and drops his ultra-secure private account number. The fairy instantly short-circuits. It hits her that the lowest-tier trash hero standing in her lobby is actually the undisputed god of the game she worships. It's such an incredibly satisfying moment.
But you know, this epic reveal comes with a deeply horrifying realization. Han learns that the master currently controlling them is just some regular dude back on Earth casually tapping his phone. And worse, the heroes? They aren't AI. Every single character summoned into this game is a real human being, kidnapped from across millions of different dimensions. Think about that for a second. All those people who were casually sacrificed in the synthesis chamber earlier, they were real people, permanently erased by a player who just thought it was a fun little mobile game.
Armed with that heavy truth, we move to the impossible dragon boss. Fueled by this terrifying knowledge, Han takes full command of the rebellion, pushing his team all the way up to floor 20. Now this floor is the ultimate beginner roadblock. The boss is this massive, heavily armored dragon that requires really complex MMO-style raid mechanics to even damage. Party 2 has to defend an altar from endless waves of soldiers just to drop the dragon's physical immunity. Meanwhile, Han's team has to get in dangerously close and blind its eye with a dagger. Finally, Party 3, which is basically a group of green rookies, has to fire a giant ballista to expose the dragon's heart. It's a massive, coordinated puzzle. But despite Han's absolutely perfect calculated planning, the human element ruins everything. When the chaotic battle starts, those rookies in Party 3 are paralyzed by sheer terror and get entirely wiped out. Because they fail, Party 2 gets overrun by soldiers, the altar falls, and boom, the dragon instantly regains its physical immunity. The raid completely collapses in real time, and Han's allies start dropping left and right.
Leaving Han to face our final stretch, climbing the Infinite Tower.
With his allies literally bleeding out on the ground around him, Han absolutely refuses to accept a game over screen. He scans the chaos and notices that the ballista managed to make one tiny, microscopic crack in the dragon's armor right before Party 3 died. Dodging massive claws and these lethal breath attacks, Han drives his blade precisely into that tiny wound, piercing the dragon's heart and single-handedly clearing the impossible floor. The system has no choice but to acknowledge his crazy victory, rewarding him with a super rare promotion stone that officially elevates him out of the trash tier, making him a bona fide 3-star hero.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. Han is no longer just a one-star disposable pawn. He's secured his place, he's proven his unbelievable strength. But the tower has 100 floors, and the difficulty is scaling exponentially. If floor 20 required a literal miracle and the blood of his allies, what kind of absolute nightmares await him on the next 80 floors? Will his encyclopedic game knowledge and ruthless willpower be enough to conquer the tower and finally make it back to Earth? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes peeled for what comes next.